What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'll be going through who I believe are the best value players in the FPL game that has launched a couple of weeks ago for this season. So what am I looking at? So I'm looking at players in specific brackets of price, how I believe that they've been undervalued, how I believe they can perform better than players around the similar price bracket in different positions or even the same position, and I think you can really get better value in your overall squad. There are some enablers in here. There's some players with some really good prices at values of returns that they've had in previous seasons, which I believe they've been underpriced. So we'll go through all that information. I'll give you some background stats as well, and if I have or if I haven't, why I haven't picked him in my squad at present. So we'll go through all that. But before we get into it, if you guys haven't given us a subscribe to FPL Inklink, hit that subscribe button. And if you ever like the video, give us a like if you like it, and join the FPL Inklink League. The code is below my camera screen. So let's begin with my favourite, or I'd say the best value player for me this season, which is Trent. So Trent, for me, I think has been underpriced significantly this season. Looking at some background stats from the last couple of seasons, he scored 200 points in the last 3 seasons with 160 points in the other season, respectively. In terms of returns, 14 returns last year with 2 goals and 12 assists. In terms of some background stats, I can give you some from my screen on this side. Trent had an XG of 0.08 and an XA of 0.35. My favourite stat, points per match, 6.5, and I believe that the price they've given us at 7.5 mil can actually outperform not just obviously players in the defensive department because he's the most expensive defender listed, but I believe that if you compare it to some of the 8 million midfielders, so for example Riyad Mahrez, who probably doesn't get as much minutes or game time due to rotation at Pep Roulette, but you're paying half a mil less and you're getting a player who's getting 200 points, whereas Mahrez probably averages around 120 to 150 in the last couple of seasons. So for me, it's a no-brainer. He's owned by about 54% of managers at the moment. So there are 46% of managers who actually don't own Trent, which is a surprise to me because I think at that value, he gives you a really good balance to your squad. And looking at the fixtures for Liverpool in the first 5 games, everyone's looking at Salah, Diaz. There are other players in the squad, Robertson, Alisson. There are players people are looking at as managers, but they might be put off by the price for Trent. But as I've said, if you compare him to other midfielders or other players in his position, which is a defence, you can have Van Dijk for 6.5, around 180 points, 6 mil. Diaz is about 140 points last season. He really gives you a good value for your money. And in terms of his fixtures, 2 home games. In game week 2, he's got Crystal Palace. Game week 4, he's got Bournemouth. And in game week 5 at home, they've got Newcastle. And then 2 away fixtures, which is Fulham away in game week 1 and Manchester United in game week 3. So I really think he can get off to a really good start. Some might even be brave enough. I personally am not at the moment to even captain him. But if he performs and he gets into the squad, I believe there's some real good points to have. And he can definitely get you off to a really good start at the start of the season. So for me personally, underpriced, best value player in the game at the moment is Trent starting this season off. Now, moving forward a bit closer to home, which is Manchester United, my team, of course. Have I selected anyone from Manchester United in my current squad? Nope. Do I intend to have any Manchester United players before the start of Game Week 1 at present? I don't believe so, but again, anything can change as we only have 10 days to go before the season kicks off. So looking at the fixtures, Brighton at home, Brentford away. Liverpool at home is going to be a difficult fixture, Southampton away and Leicester away. So a bit of a mixed bag of fixtures. But Rashford has had a £3 million decrease in price. So he was valued at 9.5 million last season, comes in at just 6.5. Is that like the biggest price drop that I've seen? Probably yes. Do I think he's going to be worthwhile bringing into your squad immediately? I do want to see how United start the season off because I know pre-season they've done well. Martial, Sancho, Rashford, they've all linked up well. Ronaldo's a bit of a sticky situation, not kind of resolved. I know Ten Hag spoke to him today. We don't really know what's going on there. Minutes might be an issue with Eriksen coming in as well. Elanga playing. So United, the minutes will be an issue because last season, due to injury, he played only 1,200 minutes and it was his lowest point tally since his initial start-off Premier League debut season in 2015-16. 63 points, 6 involvements in a goal, which is goals and assists combined. And if we look at some background stats, which I can look at my screen here, we've got 0.18, which is XG, and XA was 0.14 and only 2.5 points per match, which I think can be improved. Now, if you're looking to bring in Rashford as a first-team player, I believe that it'll be worthwhile investing in a stronger bench. So just in case there is some rotation, you've got players to come in and fill that gap as well. Now, comparing him to players around his price at 6.5 mil or around, you've got Yuri Tielemans, slightly cheaper at Fornells at 6 mil. 5.5, and then you've got Benrahma at 6 mil, Martinelli at 6 mil. So you've got players around that price, which, there may be better value elsewhere in terms of more minutes, but it's a wait and see for me, because if Rashford gets off to a good start, there is all the likelihood that I might actually go towards bringing him in. Maybe after game week 3, so you've got, Southampton, Leicester, and some other fixtures that will be lined up. I do want to see how he lines up in the first 2 games. Has he got the confidence of the manager, Ten Hag, and will he be getting the regular minutes to get the goals? But I do believe that if he's given the chance, he's fully recovered, he's recovered from a shoulder injury, there are some really big points to be had from Rashford indeed. Now, going to Liverpool once again, we won't discuss the fixtures because we already have, but Diaz is another player that I've been monitoring quite closely. Now, it's a way up between Diaz and Robertson, but I do believe in an £8 million bracket for me, if I was to pick one player, it's a really tight, I'll say a tight call between Diaz and Saka. Saka obviously had a longer period last season to get more points in terms of a sample size, but if you look at Diaz, he hasn't played that much last season due to being a new signing, but when he did play, he actually had some really positive impact on Liverpool itself. So we can go through some background stats for Diaz as well. So last season, he scored a total of 64 points, priced in at 8 mil, so he's going up against, Mason Mount, you've got Bukayo Saka, you've got Phil Foden, and you've got potentially Mahrez as well. So there's a lot of players around the £8 million kind of bracket. Obviously, you have Kulusevski as well from Tottenham, whose minutes might be hampered due to Richarlison's signing, but he's suspended for the first game. But I do believe that Diaz, out of all these options, personally for me, it's a tight call between Diaz and Saka. But let's look at some of his stats from last season. 64 points, 957 minutes, 7 goal involvements with 3 assists and 4 goals, and he got 6 bonus points. And looking at the screen here, we've got XG at 0.42, 0.17 XA, and 4.9 points per match at 8 million. That's a really good return for me. His first kind of mini season last season, but first season raring to go with some good fixtures lined up again, as I mentioned, for Liverpool. So if it's a dilemma between Robertson versus Diaz, for me personally, I would go for Robertson because I want to, get Robertson into my squad with Trent and then Salah as well. But if I wasn't able to get that option in, and I probably had to downgrade to Reece James, which I tried in my last draft, Diaz is the first option that I would go for in terms of kind of like having that £8 million midfielder in my squad. And if anyone else does actually start outperforming him or goes on a really good run, straight swap in terms of price as well. So that should be something which will be nice and easy to manage. Now, moving on to Manchester City. Now, Manchester City is the biggest kind of like headache you can have in FPL. In terms of Pep Roulette, it honestly drives me nuts. You don't know who's going to be certainty. There's only a handful of players, so you can pretty much say Diaz in defence, Edison, Cancelo, Kevin De Bruyne, and probably Haaland this season are the guarantee starters that are going to be pretty much playing most game weeks. Now, I know they've had Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus move on to respective clubs such as Chelsea and Arsenal. So the onus kind of goes on now on Riyad Mahrez and Foden. Do I believe this is Foden's breakout season? He does get more minutes as seasons have gone along. And he's really, a popular figure in terms of Pep himself. Now, the only concern I have is Jack Grealish, because they brought him for 100 million. So maybe the points might be shared in terms of, obviously, the minutes might be shared in the sense of Phil Foden, Mahrez, and Jack Grealish. But last season, he got 2,125 minutes. His highest points in terms of 137 points was last season, and he's got the most minutes as well, with 9 goals and 6 assists. Can that be further improved? It's just the game time, which I'm concerned about for 8 mil. I think it's a great price as well. That's why I've included him, because I've already done Luis Diaz. But for me, if the minutes were given to Foden that Saka or maybe Diaz would get, if I can be certain of it, Phil Foden would definitely go into my squad, because I just know his output is really insane for the minutes he does play, and he plays in a Manchester City squad which is known for scoring goals. So for me, in that aspect, I really want to see what game time he gets, and if he goes on a real good run, once again, as I've mentioned, having Saka or Diaz, an 8 million midfielder, it's quite an easy jump in one move. If the prices have changed, then if you've got 2 free transfers, it shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. So City, in terms of fixtures, have got a reasonable start. West Ham away isn't going to be easy, but a couple of seasons ago, I think it was 2019, They, I think, won 5 or 6-0 or something around there. It was like a Raheem Sterling or a Mahrez kind of performance there. So they can do that again. West Ham are now stronger. They're a different outfit. It's the first game of the season. Foden, depends on the Community Shield if he gets some minutes or not. But again, if he does get the starts, I do believe he'll give you the outputs as well. After that, they've got Bournemouth at home, which I'm sure people want to captain Haaland, or if they've got Kevin De Bruyne in their squad. Newcastle away, Crystal Palace home, and Nottingham Forest. So 2 promoted squads again in the first 5 game week fixtures. So I believe, Foden might not be a bad shout. And with the low ownership he has at the moment, which is only 6.6%, a rapid start out of the blocks can actually help your rank massively. If you've got someone like a Bukayo Saka who's around 16%, or Diaz who's around 28, 29%, if they don't fire and Foden does, and you have Foden in your squad, it might help boost your rank a lot sooner, a lot quicker at the start of the game week or the game season itself. Now moving on to Arsenal. Martinelli comes in at £6 million. So what do I like about Martinelli? I've watched a lot of Arsenal pre-season. I watched Arsenal quite often last season. And in terms of Martinelli, the only thing that was a drawback for me was his injury, and that's what cost or impacted his minutes last season. So he only played around 1,855 minutes. 13 goal involvements, his best FPL season by a long way in the last 3 seasons. 6 goals, 7 assists. And in terms of general background stats, we can look at XG at 0.31 and XA at 0.16 with points at 3.8 points per match. But for 6 mil, he's owned by only 14% of managers nearly. Not a bad shout. The minutes might be a concern because Arsenal have a lot of depth in their squad. So they've got Martinelli on the left clearly. Obviously there's Odegaard, they've got Xhaka in midfield, they've got Smith Rowe, and now they've signed Dzeko as well, who they want to play the midfield. So I just want to see how the minutes are going to be shared amongst them. But Gabriel in pre-season has been on the left, so Bukayo Saka has been on the right and Jesus has been up front. I think that's how they generally are going to go. But they do want to balance the minutes because Arsenal will be playing in obviously Europa League as well. So worthwhile seeing how the minutes are impacted in terms of Martinelli, but I have some real high aspirations for Arsenal this season, and if he does get the game time, he definitely will be someone who's on my watch list. That I might upgrade, at the moment I've got 4 nails in my team. I might upgrade him to Martinelli and kind of take $500,000 off elsewhere in my squad. Could be the goalkeeper, Mendy down to someone like a Ray at 4.5. Or I could, downgrade one of the defenders by $500,000 as well. But Martinelli is someone that I really want to look out for. And in terms of fixtures for Arsenal, really good. I think they will have one of the best fixtures start up for the first 5 game weeks. Crystal Palace away won't be an easy game, first game of the season, but I expect Arsenal, the way they've played in the pre-season, to do well. Leicester at home will be a good game. Bournemouth away, Fulham at home, so 2 promoted squads again. And then they've got Aston Villa at home, so a nice start and some real, opportunity for them to get off to a good start, and Martinelli could be a proven factor for that. Again, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Jesus will link up. Who can provide who the assists and who can get the most points in regards to that will be very, very crucial. So these are the best value players that I've identified in the game itself, because you can compare Martinelli at 6 mil to other players that may be valued around that price. So, Benrahma, for example. Do I fancy Benrahma at the moment? Potentially not. I want to see a bit more, but Martinelli definitely will stand out for me. So these are the key players that I've identified as the kind of best value players in their price categories, the top 5. So these are my opinion. Am I going to have them in my squad? I'll say, potentially I'll try to get as many as I can, but some of them are a wait and see. So for example, Martinelli, Rashford, I want to see Foden, how he gets off to a good start. That's going to be basing around how many transfers I make and how I can set my team up, just in case I need to move across to get, take the advantage of the good form. That can be done easily. So that's all for me, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what your thoughts were on these players. Let me know some of the players that I haven't looked at and you guys are looking at. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys haven't given us a subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and be part of the FPL Inkling family. Have a lovely evening, and I'll see you guys soon.